Welcome back to Mera India. Mera India, which from today onwards, first Tuesday of every month, we will have it at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Up to this time it was at 9 o'clock, but now it will be at 8 o'clock. So we were discussing about Kejriwal, we were discussing about Admi Party, and we thought we came to a conclusion, both of us, that this corruption is endemic in Indian democracy or in any democracy. To stop that, we need a system. And the other thing which has happened is that sometimes these riots happen because of political instigation. Because what in India they call it vote banks, that if Muslims vote for Muslims, Hindus vote for Hindus, India is finished. What we have to think of is there any way by which people vote according to the ideologies of political parties, not on personalities of the political parties, people who are commanding. Because what happened in 1984, it was mainly because of this very reason that Mrs. Indira Gandhi wanted to divide the Sikhs in Punjab, especially the Akali Dal. She and Gyani Zail Singh, and they both thought, let us divide them and keep on ruling Punjab. And that's why they created another part of Akali Dal, and without realizing that they would become so extremist. The conclusion was that many people in Punjab, both Hindus and Sikhs, died. And the most tragic thing was that the Golden Temple was attacked by, first you could say the people with armed went inside, and then to get them out, the government used force, much more than was necessary. There could have been other ways. They could have been surrounded, and they could have been said no food goes there, and within 10-15 days keep on telling them that if you surrender now, nothing will be done to you, or some sort of reconciliation. Perhaps it could have been avoided. The tragedy of 1984 could have been avoided. Similarly, tragedy of 2002 could have been avoided if a few years back, when L.K. Advani took his Rath Yatra, and when they talked and talked of nothing but Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. For God's sake, if you wanted to have Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, why couldn't you try it in 1948 or 49 or 50 when Somnath temple was rebuilt? But they started using that religious zeal of the people for their political convenience. And that's why the Muslims attacked those people who came from Ayodhya, and because of that reaction, the people of Gujarat, who are otherwise very docile people, will really never react. They are not martial races like Sikhs are, or Jats are, or Rajputs are, but they stood against Muslims and massacred. Whether it was with the support of the government of the day or a few members in the government of the day, the Supreme Court had taken decisions on that. Supreme Court has put quite a few behind the bars. Some people have got life sentences also. Do we have to keep these two incidents in every election? That is the point which I want to raise for all of you. Or should we think that both the parties should think that never again we are going to divide the people for the sake of getting their votes? Now, this is my view. I want Sajjit, you tell us, is there a solution to all this? Hello, caller is there. Okay, who is it? Hello?
Hello. Hello,
हाँ जी
Sir Muhammad Mushtaq from Birmingham.
हाँ जी क्या
What
आपका नाम
peace everywhere in all Asia. So what is the politics for shame and facilitate the people's public, human being? Uncounted sources, resources, rewards, prizes, gifts. What is the politics?
I can't hear it.
can you hear
Nothing.
I can't hear I don't know what you are saying okay thank you हाँ
I can hear it.
ऐसे कोई बकवास कर रहा है
Anyway, you asked me about yes these issues. I mean I have a personal interest in it. I lived in India in 1984. So I lived through these times, and my daughter was born during the 1984 riots as well.
yeah
So I have some first-hand experience, if nothing else, of this. I think the 1984, two things happened. One, there was the attack on the Golden Temple, and as you quite rightly said, it was the manner in which it was done could have been quite different, and therefore history might have been quite different. So that was number one. And then, of course, there were the riots that followed.
okay
And as a community, Sikhs were quite upset about it, quite rightly so, that the holiest shrine had been attacked, despite the fact that people did admit that there were people who shouldn't have been there were in there, but there were lots of ways to get them out. You don't have to destroy it. You don't have to bring down a house just because a thief has gone in. And that's exactly, and that house happens to be the holiest shrine is a very sensitive thing. Then came the riots, and I think people get upset that 30 years on, nothing has happened. No one has been convicted for it. Compensations haven't been given. No one has accepted responsibility for it. For Rahul Gandhi to come on the eve of the election to try and diffuse the issue by saying that, actually, if anything, has flared up the issue. I mean, it's been more complicated by the fact that today the British government has also given a statement in Parliament that they sent a military officer to advise the Indian government. So that, but I think the more fundamental thing, if I can say, whether it's this or the Gujarat riots or whatever it is, the difference between, say, Germany, where there was persecution like this of Jews, and the two cases here, that in Germany there was a contrition of Germans. That was the big thing, and the government admitted the fact that they had got it wrong, that they were complicit in this, in the persecution of Jews, which has not happened in India. And until you get closure, you're going to continue to have these things simmering. And that there has been a lack of closure both in Punjab and in Gujarat in relation to 1984 and 2002 respectively. And I think somewhere along the way, if we don't get that closure, these will become issues, rightly or wrongly, every time something happens. And these will overshadow every election, because both sides now have something to throw at each other. So I think the Indian government for 1984 or the Gujarat government for 2002, had they got up and apologized unreservedly, given justice to the victims, actually would have diffused it. Yes, it was an unfortunate thing that happened, very sad, very wrong, but things happened. And people, by and large, are generous enough to move on. But if you tell them, and actually I don't give a damn about what you think, then people will continue to act the way they are.
That's right.
And unfortunately, you said at the start of the whole thing, we have vote bank politics in India. So both sides will try and exploit these things for their own reasons, and that will carry on for a long time. And that's the way we are. It's a very unfortunate position.
Look, in a mature democracy,
which we are not.
We are not.
Maturity is not just because we fight elections. We have the educational level. You see the level at which we fight these elections, whether we have the Yadav vote, whether we have the Lingayat vote, whether we have the other backward caste vote, whether we have the Thakur vote, whether we have the Brahmin vote, or whether we have...
Sajid,
that's not democracy.
You tell me one thing. Democracy is a mental attitude of a people. Government, the people of India did get a democratic system. But to make that democratic system work, it was essential to change their mental attitude. In common people, in families, middle class families, high class family, we are still feudal by nature.
We are.
Isn't it?
Even today, living in this country, people are feudal by nature.
Yeah.
Indians who come here, yeah, that's a sad part of it. Let's take our political parties in India. Let's take the Congress party. Barring one term of Narasimha Rao, and I wouldn't even count Manmohan Singh in there because he was an appointed prime minister rather than an elected prime minister in that sort of sense. There has been a stranglehold of one family, and 3 years of Lal Bahadur Shastri, or a couple of years, Janata Party or whatever it is. But that's been, so no leader is elected by Congress party members.
Yeah.
So David Cameron, Ed Miliband, whether you agree with them or you disagree with them, their parties have elected them. So democracy doesn't start just in the Houses of Parliament. Democracy starts in the way we are. So, and this is the same thing that happens with the chief ministers of states or city governments. These are fixed posts.
Yeah. But how can we change it? Who can change it? Why? In what manners it can be changed? I don't think anything else without education.
Well, education is a big thing, but let's just take our industry. Still, the biggest industrial houses in India are family industrial houses. Even a relatively high-tech, new age company like Infosys brings in now his son.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know, even I would say, forget the Birlas and the Tatas and the Kirloskars and the Kamanis and the old. I'm saying new industry. I mean, IT wasn't there 30 years ago.
So in
it's
India,
just the way we are afraid to let go.
Do let me know, in India, are there any corporations which are not family ones? There must be some.
I'm trying to think of the corporations but you see, most of the private sector corporations tend to keep the control in the family.
Yeah, we know Ambanis, we know Birlas, we know Tatas, they are there. And they are supermost at the moment in India, no doubt. But what about the new ones?
I give you an example of these of Infosys, a most admired company, highly admired company, and it's basically it's his friends who started it off, and the chairman's son is there now as well, and that's in whether he'll become the chairman, I don't know, but he's on the board, and that's the way every one of us. But it's the way we are even here. I mean, you set up a business, you make sure that your son,
that's
if
right.
there is a thing, make sure your son takes it. But we are not willing to cede control.
These things are not happening in the West. Today's news, latest.
Microsoft, he didn't say his son should be on the board.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's an Indian man.
Indian origin man.
And that's where meritocracy doesn't thrive in India. That is, and I mentioned this to you in a previous thing, and I think I've written it in one of your magazines as well. I know this person in India who didn't get very good results in his examination in school. Father, I couldn't get into a good college in India. Father is able to write a check, so comes to one of the top universities here. That boy, what does he learn? He learns, actually, it's important that I make money. If I can make it legitimately, it's nice, but if I don't make it legitimate, the important thing is getting the money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He has not paid the consequence, the price for not getting the results to get him into a good college. So he thinks, actually, I don't need to pay the price for it as long as I have the money. So when that money becomes such an overpowering thing in your mindset, then it governs your actions.
Yeah, but I don't know. The good news is that there are two people who have become the topmost people of India in their fields, who did not do all that hard work in the last 30 or 40 years of their life for the sake of money, but for the love of education or for the love of sports. Those two are awarded Bharat Ratna today. We had Sachin Tendulkar and C.P.N. Rao, academician, a great scientist, who wrote about 45 books, and also hundreds and hundreds of scientific papers. Now these both people, when they chose their career, either in sports or in science, did they think of money? What was it which inspired them to go at the top?
I mean, people do have a work ethic, people who do have them. But of course, once, some people are inspired by money and some people are inspired by fame, some people are inspired by the love of what they do.
Exactly. That is the last point, is very important.
The ones who genuinely achieve fall into the last category, because after a while, money and fame, once you've had a certain amount, means less and, diminishing returns set in your mind. If you got 10 million, you can, wow. If you got 20 million, the next 10 million doesn't mean as much to you as the first 10 million did. It's the same thing. So diminishing returns. So what sustains you it drives you, is the desire to succeed, is the desire to achieve.
Yes.
And that's the big difference.
This is the tragic thing. You see, in India, if the father has become the chief minister, he wants his son and his daughter all go into politics. In Britain, Margaret Thatcher had 2 children. I don't know how good they were, but both were in different careers. They did not think that they should follow Tory party in politics. Similarly, Harold Wilson's son became a school teacher. And so the whole thing is that this thing used to happen in this country also, when it was only aristocrats who were at the top. If you can, William Pitt, for example, is a simple example. Father and son both became the Prime Minister of Britain. That thing is rare in this country, especially when it became a mature democracy.
Of course, there is a slight danger that it might start happening again as you start having elections which are fought through television and name recognition, and donors will, like it happens in America, that donors want to give to people whose names are already well established. So who knows, it might come back again. But I take your basic point.
Actually, in America, they think that Clintons are the modern monarchs.
Or the Bushes,
and so
or the Kennedys before that, the Bushes, the Kennedys, the Clintons.
Will it happen to Miliband's? We don't know. The 2 brothers.
Well, one is out of politics already.
That's all. Ladies and gentlemen, you must have heard us talking to you all about Indian at the moment, what is happening in India, where the fault lies. You know it, we know it. If you want to have your contribution, either telephone us or write to us, care of this people. Any letter of you sent to Mera India, care of Venus TV, it will arrive, it will get to me. So you can write to us. Many people have been writing recently to us about our program on Mera India. So you can also please try to tell us where we are lacking, where we have not done a justice to this 1 hour of your watching this program. We are entirely different from some other channels. Let me tell you that. Good night.